I was busy, you know. Here, guys go find the talent here. I've got to build a place for them to work. And that was my job. Build the box. Put the stuff in the box. It was like sleeping 5 hours a night. You'd turn off the cassette recorder in your bedroom around 1 o'clock in the morning after watching dailies. You'd sleep for about 5 hours, get up at 6, and go at it. 7 days a week, because even though the company was shooting fives, we didn't have scripts, we never had locations. It was like, okay guys, let's go find some locations to shoot this show. And I put Wag and Roberts and Daguerre and Richard Lewis in the car, and we started driving down the road, and Wag turned to me and kind of went, "Where's the architecture? Where's the architecture? Oh my God, I'm in Los Angeles. There isn't any. What are we going to do?" And I went, okay, relax. You know, we're looking for areas of the blanks, and we're looking for, you know, some architecture pieces that we can crawl into, and so on and so forth. Give me a minute here. So I would take them down and drive them through the riverbed of the Los Angeles River, you know, to see the old, you know, crumbly structures of how those bridges worked, and how this austere look might be able to be folded into a few shows. And then we took them down alongside the river, down the old San Pedro, or the old metal area working of downtown Los Angeles, and found the factories and all of that kind of stuff. We took them into some of the old deco buildings, you know, like the Oviatt building downtown, and that whole area. There were several deco buildings down there. Spring Street, the old Bank of America building. And I started going, no, quiet. Here, let me blindfold you, and I'll take you into this building and take the blindfold off. Oh, that's more like it, you know. And things started to happen. Richard Lewis brought Leslie Frankenheimer to the party as the set decorator. Wag fell in love with her because she got what he was trying to talk about and started throwing things, you know, of color and style. The idea was make this poor Brit who is so lonely for the tradition of architecture that he grew up in, you know, into something we can at least add some style to here and get him excited about, yes, I'm there. I remember I took Wag and the art department down into the Union Station downtown to get them back to their Blade Runner, you know, essence. And we shot an entire zigzag board meeting, I believe it was, in the old commissary cafe, the Art Deco cafe in that ancient place. And I remember Wag walking through going, "Blade Runner really shot here," you know. And I said, yeah, they sure did. We stayed with the same concept of what they had designed for Max Headroom's presence on camera, for what was inside the box. We used the same set pieces. They were fiberglass shoulder pieces that screwed onto him, and it was like a piece of armor. We also stayed with the prosthetic face designs. Even though I had come out of pictures like The Last Starfighter, I knew all the prosthetics people in the world here, and great ones. But we stayed with Coast to Coast from London, who had the molds for the original, and we contracted with them to supply the latex pieces. But I brought in Kadi and Zoltan Elik, who I had met doing prosthetic work myself, who had worked with Stan Winston and so on and so forth. These makeup artists were magnificent. And I had them do the show, all of the show, because they were fabulous people, but they knew prosthetics beautifully. So the color and the blending and the believability, so that this character could really live in his relationship with Bryce, which was so key to the unique believability of the show, that these two characters, you know, could really relate. And people really believed that we created him electronically. They believed that they've taken the step. They figured it out. And then we started flying him through cyberspace, through pieces that were being built by Bruno George's insane friends at the Post Group. We were doing them in-house rather than going to a visual effects company. There was interesting things happening. It was electric to be a part of that show. When Paul Goldsmith came in to be the director of photography after the second or into the third show, I was saying, "What do you want to light this with?" And he's saying, "Well, from what I've seen, get me a bunch of battery-powered fluorescent stick-ups, 2 foot long." And we started going, okay, that's raw, and that's interesting. What are we doing about neon? Let's get some more neon going. And so we just started pulling things and putting them in odd places. The blue screenness of the show didn't matter that much, because we never used blue screen in anything other than Max. Even we were shooting the boardroom, for example, out the windows and so on and so forth. We put a drop out there. When we were shooting the interior boardroom communication devices, the big screen, we did that for real with an actor on another stage interacting with the actual people. So it was real time. I hired Brian Roberts. He was a kid at the time who had been a house sitter for me as one of the PA kids coming out of the film areas, and he was working as an assistant editor over at one place and was in the union. And so I said, Roberts, come here. I need someone to prepare all of the playback materials. We really can't afford to do blue screen TV sets and burn it all in later. We got to get on the air. I need an editorial department that's pre-production for this show. And Bruno George was the visual effects supervisor, who was insane and a good friend of Phil DeGuer's. And he was nuts, but brilliantly genius nuts. You know, and we spent our time trying to find out, what can we put on the screens? You know, what's public domain? What don't we have to pay for? And we discovered that the Pope was public domain. And so on a lot of screens in the Network 23 set, with all the screens on there, you'll see the Pope on a lot of those screens. We were doing Edison Carter's POV with a very small JVC consumer camera that was mine. It was a VHS-C camera with a zoom lens on it. We got to that because we had previously been doing a Betacam, and the guys from Video Image would come in and shoot the stuff. You know, we'd do the scenes and then we'd do the POVs. And WAG would take that Betacam footage into the edit bay, degrade it to make it look like what he thought Edison Carter's camera should really shoot. And I got tired of spending the money on the time to degrade all this, you know, because it was taking hours. So one afternoon I brought my own little camera that I had bought on The Boy Could Fly, and I gave it to the guys and said, here, use this. I want to test some of this material, a little VHS-C baloney consumer camera. And put it up on the screen for WAG, and WAG said, that's perfect. Who degraded that? I said, nobody. I said, use that. So we started using my little home camera for all of these POVs. This kind of improvisational attitude came from everywhere. It came from property, it came from wardrobe, came from set dressing, came from the makeup department. It was infectious. The sculpture was continuous at all times. We knew we had our arms wrapped around something no one had ever seen before. And we were excited about that every day.